Hi there, I'm Rhonda, and I help makers turn their digital designs into income. On my channel, you'll get quick tutorials, cool tools, and simple strategies to grow your digital product business. If you want daily AI prompts, trend tips, and a fun community that gets it, join us in our AI Profit Society. I left a link in the description. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss a thing. And now, without any further delay, let's get into today's video. Hey everybody, it's Rhonda. And in this morning's video, we're going to take a look at Recraft. Recraft has really been adding some really great external models to their system. So this morning, we're just going to take a look at the various external models they have. They just added ideogram as one of their models, so that's really exciting. So we're just going to take a look at some of the different external models they have and how each one of them will produce some really unique outputs, okay, even using the same prompt, which is what we are going to do. So I am going to come over here to my Creative AI Prompt Library. This is a library that I add new prompts to on a regular basis for all kinds of things, anywhere from animals, holidays, florals, food, drink, just a bunch of different categories with some amazing prompts in them. And I add to it just about weekly. So I will leave a link below if you're interested in how to get access to it. But for this one, I'm going to take this cute little fall ghost I made. Okay, this prompt, I'm going to grab this one. And we're just going to head over to Recraft. And I am going to start a new image. And I'm going to make a few of these because I am going to be using different model generators for each image using the same prompt so we can compare them. And I think I should be good with, well, let's do 8. And then, of course, we will also run the prompt in a couple of Recraft's internal built-in styles that they have as well. So let me, you know what, let me just make a few more of these real quick. And we will have 12 different ones here on the screen that we will compare then, okay? So let's, and yes, I am trying to line them up all evenly and I don't have it quite right, but that's okay. Alrighty, so in this first one, I'm just going to paste my prompt and we're just going to run this in Recraft's internal model raw. I'm going to click Recraft and run that. Now I'm going to move over to the next one and I'm going to run this one under Recraft's illustration. Okay, that's probably my next, it's probably the one I use most internally. And let's zoom in here a little so you can see. This is the Recraft raw version, okay? And Recraft's internal models have what I would call more of a childlike drawing to them. They're not very realistic. They're more like, I don't know, doodles, I guess. But this one is from the illustration version, okay? So you can see there's a little bit of a difference here between the raw and the illustration. You get a little more depth, I think, in illustration than you do in the raw. But there's still sort of childlike, I guess is the word I'm looking for, in their output. So we're going to take this same prompt. We're going to move over here. I'm going to paste it in and I'm going to click on the style. And now here I'm going to click on all models and I'm going to click on external. And in here you will find we have High Dream, we have GPT, we have Flux, we have Imagen,
And now we have ideogram in here, which is fantastic. So we're just going to start out running through these. We're going to create one image in each of these styles so you can see how different they are. I'm probably only going to do one GPT output, or one generation for GPT, because it's the same model. It's just, a little different, I guess, in quality and output. All right, you see here's your like low detail, but if you go to the GPT high, there is a ton more detail. So I'm probably just going to run the high and the low, and the same way with some of the others. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So first we're going to run High Dream. All right, that's up here, and we're going to hit Recraft. This one, we'll paste this in, and again, we're going to come in here, select our models, and this one we're going to run GPT 4.0 low. So we have those two going. No, we don't. I forgot to hit Recraft on that one. And this one, we will do all models, external, and we're going to do this one in the GPT high. Okay. All right, and let's zoom in while those others, while they are working, and let's look at some of these here now. Now this is the High Dream version, and you see how much different that is than Recraft's built-in models. It's just a completely different style. It's still the cute clip art, but it has, I think it just looks a lot more, I don't know, a little more professional, perhaps. Whereas, the internal models of Recraft, I don't know, almost looks like a coloring page or something like that with, colored pencils or something, whereas this is a lot more vibrant. So that's the difference between High Dream and the internal models. Now let's slide over here. Now we have GPT, and this is, the latest version of ChatGPT's internal image generator that seems a little more raw, more almost vintage, excuse me, vintage in feel. And this is the low quality one, okay? So now we're going to go down here and we're going to take a peek at the high quality. And you can definitely see there is a difference between the low and the high. The details you get, let's bring this and move it back over here. Let's zoom in a little so we can see these. So you can see there's a huge difference in the quality of the image that comes out between the GPT low and the GPT high. All right. Now the catch is GPT high is pretty expensive to run. It costs 24 credits to run that model. All right. So let's zoom out here and let's move on. And in this one, let's go into models, external. And this one we're going to run in Flux. You know what? I am going to run the GPT medium because there was such a huge disparity between the low and the high. Let's run the medium. That's 6 credits to run that. And we'll see how that comes out. Let's see how that compares to the high. All right. While that's generating, we will do our, we will do Flux 1 dev, and we will do the Flux 1 Pro. Okay, we will run those two together, and we'll wait and see how these come out. All right, now here is the GPT high over here and the GPT medium here. this looks pretty darn good. It's not quite as crisp and clear as the high is, but it's not bad. It is a huge improvement over the low. In fact, let me scroll out here and move some of this stuff around. Let's move this down here next to it so you can compare these a little better. And this one, let's move this out of the way. Let me move these so we can keep our types together, okay? All right, so now let's look in here. And now you can see this is the low, this is the medium, and this is the high. So there is a huge difference in each step. The low, I don't even consider that worth running unless you do want that that particular look in your image. Okay, there are instances where that might be appropriate, but for most of us, we're not going to use that. The medium isn't bad. That came out pretty nicely, a little rough around some edges, but again, that could very well be the look you're going for. So GPT medium is definitely usable. GPT high is, top of the line, but very, very expensive to run. All right. So let's zoom out here again and take a look here. Okay. Did I forget to hit Recraft on both of these? I did. All right. So now those two are running. We're looking at the Flux Dev and Flux Pro. Let's zoom in and take a look at these. All right, this one is Flux One Dev, and that came out pretty cute. I wouldn't be disappointed with those outputs. That's kind of nice. And then Flux Pro. That one's kind of cute too. And so is that one. So that's not bad. They both give some pretty decent output depending on what you're looking for. All right. So now let's move on to the next ones. Let's go find what they are. Let's paste our prompt in here. Come in here to models. Okay, we have Flux One Connect, Flux One Context Pro. We'll run that. And then this one is going to be the Flux One Context Max. And that's what we'll use for this one. Okay. And those are already generating. Let's zoom in a little closer so you can see just a little better. All right, this is Flux One Context Pro. And let's look at those images. And they all came out really nice. It's a little bit different style, like I said, and that's what you have to look at for these things. This is Flux's, the context models are Flux's version of the new GPT model, all right? That looks a little more vintage and things like that. So expect to see, this kind of, the GPT output, that kind of vibe in anything you make with Flux context. That's what it's supposed to be. It's their version. It's not exactly the same, but you do get more of that vintage feel with these images. All right, and that was Context Pro here. Let's hit the Context Max. And yep, you are getting the vintage feel. Now this seems to have put almost like a sticker border around some of these, which is okay, but that may not be what you're looking for. But they both came out very nicely. I am not really seeing a huge difference between Context Pro and Context Max. There might be some slight differences, but for the most part, these are both very acceptable images. Unlike the GPT, where the low one was really bad. Okay, So those are our flux models. Let me zoom out here so I can move some of my artboards around a little. Okay, let's zoom. Let's put that here. And let's zoom in. And this time, let's paste that in and let's go look at the models we're going to try out this time. All right, now we can move on to the Imagen or Imagine. I'm not sure how it's pronounced entirely, but we will start with Imagen 3, which is the low version. And that's what we want. We want this lower one right here. And let's Recraft. And then let's duplicate this and put it over here. Now this one we're going to do in Imagen 4. And we will Recraft. And let's run this last one in the Imagen 4 Ultra. Okay. And again, each one of these takes a different amount of credits. So, you have to determine yourself whether the extra credits are worth the differences in images, This is Imagen 3, the basic one. Let's scroll in here a little and we'll compare it to Imagen 4. So this is Imagen 3 here on the left, right? The one I'm looking at now. And it gave us 4 different options. I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. It doesn't look, I mean, the quality is pretty good. It's a vintage feel, I think. And then Imagen 4, that is a really cute design it came up with there. Same with that. And that, and all of these are really nice, and they are really clean and crisp. Okay, there is a little more of the vintage feel here in Imagen 3. It's not quite as clean and crisp, but Imagen 4 looks nice. So this is Imagen 4 here on the left, and this is the Imagen 4 Ultra on the right. So we've looked at the basic 4. So let's look at 4 Ultra and see if we can see if there are really that much of a difference in these designs. And honest to goodness, I think the 4 basic better than 4 Ultra. Okay? So I'm not seeing a whole lot of difference in quality in those. So let's zoom back out. Let me add a new image. Let's duplicate this one. Delete that. Oh, there we go. And now we're going to run the ideogram or ideogram versions. Okay, so let's paste that prompt back in there again, external, and we're going to do ideogram v3 turbo. Okay, v3 turbo is there, and next we will go in here and v3 default. And then finally, v3 quality. And let's scroll in here and take a look at turbo and default and see what kind of differences we see there. Okay, this is turbo here, and that's a really cute design. I like that. I am liking how that looks. And this one even added some text, Happy Halloween. And that one and spooktacular birthday. So Ideogram took it upon itself to add some typography to my designs. I didn't ask for that, but you know, sometimes it might be what you're looking for. And Ideogram is probably one of the best generators for any type of typography, any text and stuff like that. It is usually pretty spot on. Okay, and then on the right here, we have the ideogram standard, the default. So that's the first image it generated, and that looks good. And again, it decided to add some typography to it. Happy Spooky Day. Another one without text. That one looks good. And again, more text. Happy Spooky Day. And they all look good. They're not... I am really, okay, now we're looking at the high quality one. We are looking at, what are we doing here? What is this? Let's look. V3 quality is what it's called. And if I click through here, I am not really seeing a whole lot of difference in quality from, honestly, even from the turbo. Let me zoom out, okay? Let's move this default one off to the side. Let's put the turbo and the quality next to each other. Let's zoom in and take a look at these. Okay, this is the quality, and this is the turbo. I am not really seeing much of a difference here at all. There might be a few more details maybe in the eyes and some of the coloration of the pumpkins, but overall they are very similar. Let's take a look at this one. Let's move this. And I think for the difference in credits, if we go back here and look, okay, Ideogram V3, it's 2 credits for the turbo. It's 6 credits for the quality. I don't see enough of a difference in quality from turbo to quality level to justify those extra credits, all right? So, you know, we've taken a look at most of these, all right? Well, actually, we've taken a look at all of them. And, you know, what style you like best is completely up to you, you know, which one you prefer when you are running your image generations. You have the internal models here for Recraft, which, like I said, they are great. They're cute, but they do have more of a childlike feel to them, I think. But they still look really nice. High Dream is usually my go-to in Recraft, but I may be rethinking that a little bit. I don't really ever use the GPT in here because if I want a GPT, a chat GPT looking image, I usually just create it right in chat GPT. I don't need to use my Recraft credits for something else. And I do not like the low version at all. I'm just not a fan of that. I'm just going to delete that. The medium and the high are both worth looking at. But again, remember, the GPT-4o high is 24 credits. So that's a lot. That's using a lot of credits, you know, to use that, when the medium is still pretty, that's 6 credits, okay? And that's 6 credits per image. So if you generate 4, you know, that already is 24 credits there. This, you know, we're looking at what, 96 credits to generate 4 GPT high images. Not worth it, if you ask me. Then we have our flux models, which are pretty good. They generate some nice images too. It just depends on the style you're looking for, what you want it to do. I do think the Flux 1.1 Pro is a little bit nicer than Flux Dev. And then the Flux Context, if you do want something that is along the same lines as GPT's output, you could absolutely use those, the context models. Again, it's all up to you and your personal preference. I do really like the ideogram. And again, I'm going to tell you ideogram V3 Turbo. For the difference in credits, I would use Turbo over Quality 99% of the time. All right. So that's what I think of the external models. Now I do want to run through these quick. I'm going to get rid of all of these. I'm going to delete them. We're going to start all over again. And this time I'm going to come over here to my prompt library, and I am going to go into my inspirational, spiritual, and typography section, and I am going to grab a design that has text. So we can look at which of these models make the best text. So let's look here. What do we want to do? I think I'm going to go with, and I want it to be something that isn't just a single word, because a lot of times, some of these can pull off the single word, but they struggle once they have to, make a phrase. Let's just do just a girl who loves makeup. Okay. So we're going to start back over here. Let's zoom in a little. Let's make a few of these. Not sure how many I need. I can't remember, but I'm just going to add a few in here. Okay. Alrighty. So let's start over. We're going to do Recraft Raw. And I think I'm only going to do 2 images for each of these. Recraft Raw and Recraft Illustration. And as you see, Recraft Raw doesn't quite get what I mean when I say a groovy style t-shirt design. It gave me a t-shirt. And, some of these might do that. We'll see what happens. I might want to reword my prompt. How about just a groovy style design? Let's do that. Sometimes that word t-shirt just really throws things off. So let's rerun it without the word t-shirt in there. Okay. Let's check out their internal models first. Okay, so it did do the text just nice. Just a girl who loves makeup. All right, it spelled everything correctly. I'm not necessarily a fan of the look of them, but it did spell everything right. All right, so let's move on to, let's paste that in, and let's try High Dream. That is our next one. And let's hit Recraft on that. Now, as far as this one goes, the next one would be the GPTs on our list. And I think for this one, I'm only going to run the medium. High Dream did a very nice job with the text. Just a Girl Who Loves Makeup. It gave it that funky, groovy style bubble font. So that one looks really good. I like that. I like High Dream, does text well. This is GPT 4.0 medium. It did do the text well, but I'm still seeing like some smudging on the edges. Just not a real fan of. I probably wouldn't use GPT 4.0 for text, but let's try the high. It's pricey, but let's give it a shot. GPT 4.0 high. Let's run that. And while that's working, let's do our next ones, which would be Flux 1 Dev. And then Flux 1.1 Pro. Okay, we'll run those. And the Flux Dev and the Flux Pro, let's zoom in a little here so you can see them. Okay, this is Flux 1 Dev. It did spell everything right. And it gave us a decent output. I mean, it's pretty basic, but at least it spelled everything correctly. This is Flux 1.1 Pro. You see it did a lot more detail on our fonts and made that a little bit fancier. And here's the other version, or the other generation from Flux 1.1 Pro. So that one does a really nice job too for text. And let's go back here and look at GPT High. Now this one did come out a lot crisper. There's not as much smudging and things. And it got the like retro groovy font right. I like this one with the outline around the text. So far everybody's done a pretty good job at generating the proper text, at least. It's not spelled anything wrong or... So this is Flux 1 Context Pro. We'll run that. And then this one will be Flux 1 Context Max. And we'll run those. Let's check them out. And again, this is supposed to be Flux's answer to ChatGPT's new image generator. This one, it duplicated the word loves, so I'm not a fan of that one. And then it did this one, which isn't bad. This one doesn't look bad at all. Just a Girl Who Loves Makeup. That spelled it right that time. And you can't expect text to be perfect every time. And this is Flux Context Pro here. Okay. And that did, in this one again, I'm seeing just a bit of a shadow around the edges, so it looks almost like a sticker. And Just a Girl Who Loves Makeup. So that one didn't do bad. I'm not a fan of some of the little extra elements here, but the text came out nicely. Okay, so let's move on and try the next model, which is Imagen 3. And then Imagen 4. And finally, Imagen 4 Ultra. Okay, let's try those three and see how we get it. It would help if I remembered to press Recraft. Alrighty, and now all three of those are done. So let's look at Imagen 3 here. Let's zoom in. And the text doesn't look bad. And on this one, it did duplicate loves again, just like one of the others did. This is Imagen 4. Just a Girl Who Loves Makeup. That one doesn't look bad. And Imagen 4 Ultra. And that looks really cute too. And I do like how this one added like shadow underneath the text, and it did a good job of generating all the little elements that go along with it. So Imagen 4 and Imagen 4 Ultra are both very nice for text. So I'm actually very impressed that all of these have done the text fairly well. All right, and now lastly we have our ideogram. First one is going to be turbo. Second one will be default. And the third one will be quality. And if it's anything like the images that we generated, the difference between turbo and quality is going to be negligible and just not worth the extra spending. So here's the first one from V3 Turbo. And then there's the second image from V3 Turbo. I like both of them a lot. Two completely different styles of font, but a very nice looking image. And if I scroll over here, you can see that for the most part, the elements look pretty good too. Okay, and this is standard here, default. And again, I like the different, how it changed the fonts up, gave us a groovy style, but still change things up. I like that one too. That's default. And then here is our quality. And that one too, change things up for the font for both images. So let's move default out of the way. Let's go over here again and compare turbo to quality. Turbo on the left, quality on the right. And I'm not seeing that much of a difference. There might be some differences with the quality of the elements, but the text looks good. So let's go and choose this one, and let's go and choose this one. Now here again, I just don't see enough of a difference in quality to justify the extra credits. So if I'm going to be using ideogram here inside of Recraft, I'm definitely going to be using the turbo over the quality. And then if I would run into a problem, then I would probably, I might even try the default first before I jump up to quality. But as you can see, most all of these did a very good job with the text. Some of them, I think, understood the assignment a little better than others as far as the style we were looking at. We wanted like a groovy, funky style, and I think some of them got it a little better than others. But for the most part, they all did a great job on the text. Even the Recraft internal models, they did a great job. They're just not as vibrant and bright as I would probably like the images to be. Okay, but this is a rundown on all of the different external models that Recraft now offers. I absolutely love that they now have ideogram in there. So if you guys have any questions about the different models inside Recraft now, just drop them in the comments. I'll answer them as soon as I can. Again, if you want to access our Creative AI prompt library, I'll leave the link for that below. And I will see you guys next time.